Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 531. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, now an official awesome bike two-tire fixer-upper. I survived. The last one exploded. I thought my heart was going to drop out of my head. Thank God my hands were on it. But I am now have added more skill points to my mechanic tier in my skill tree.
You have to slow down on the pump because I ride a lot too. But if you pump too hard, boom, so to speak.
The Reebok pump. You never want to blow out, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, cool. Good deal. And I am Charlie Carton, by the way, if you've never listened to this show before. And we're in the middle of our guest is Clint. Clint lives in the I was going to say the Pacific Northeast. That's not a real place. He lives in New England, and we were bitching about the weather before he came on because right now in the Midwest and the East, it's pushing 100 in different areas. It's totally insane.
I hit 102 in my vehicle yesterday when I was at the theater. I'm like, how can it be that hot in Minnesota?
It's completely ridiculous. So anyway, good thing global warming is a myth. But I digress. Clint, great to have you back, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me back. It's always exciting to be here. So, yeah, I'm ready to have a blast.
Clint is slowly becoming our go-to when it comes to horror because he's a big fan. He's very dedicated. He has to travel how far to a movie theater?
An hour now. It's an hour.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, you say now? Was there a closer theater that closed?
I had
a
nice one right in town, like 15 minutes away.
Oh, no.
And then they closed it. And so now the closest one is like an hour. So.
Oh, that sucks.
It does.
Man.
I used to go every weekend. Now I go like every other weekend.
Clint, you just need to quit your job and reopen that theater and run it.
I should. And have it like a little game area too. And yeah.
That could be a theater game. And I'm sure that model is out there. But yeah, I'd be totally psyched for that. But I'm sure it's nice. Hopefully you get good, because you were telling me you live in the mountains, and so hopefully there's like good mountain internet, like you're closer to the sky, so you get better internet.
We got so many chipmunks out here running around.
I was going to say there's repeaters on like various eagles and things. Yeah,
just flying by. That's not sounding Neil make. Sorry.
That's how Twitter happens, Charlie. Oh wait, we don't talk about it. Tweet. Oh
yeah, no, now it's just an X. But anyway, we got a great show for you. Our topic today is going to be 28 years later, which is not only the third film in the 28 blank later series, which started back in the early 2000s, but it's the first film in a trilogy, which I guess I was not 100% aware of until we saw this and dug into it. So I'm psyched. But first, we always talk about our Patreons, and we have a new one this week, which is totally awesome. So we get to give this new individual their SFU superpower. But to top it off, our Patreon Secret Friend Squad over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Great early shows, exclusive programs, tons of extra content, no ads, and Discord benefits for as little as $2 a month. After having your first week for free and having that first month be half off, my goodness. Lots of great perks. I'm trying to decode what you wrote there. So, okay, never mind. Todd wants to keep them. There we go. The mystery. Okay. But these fine folks have been with us for a long time and getting all those great perks. My buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude. Francie, who does my wife's hair. Luke Lore, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, our guest last week, talking about BVS. Holy cow. And my Uncle Tim down there in South Haven, Michigan. Grateful for all of you. Also, John Sedorf, Brendan Myers, Corey in HD, Matthew Keel, my birdie Kurt Krug, who just got back from a great writers conference.
Your birdie?
He's my birdie. Tweet. That's maybe saw one bird in New York City. A tree grows in Brooklyn. Maybe something like that. Tanya Lee, Chipotle Bear, famous Seamus. We'll hear from him again in a little bit. Cam the Movie Man, Jay Newport, 007, and Darth Prozac, a.k.a. Prozac Man. I read that backwards. And last but not least, without whom there would be not the awesome Secret Friends Unite Super Squad, Sean Stella and Henry Nice of the Twin Cities. We are grateful, and as Todd dances around, we do have a new Patreon. Very exciting. This person's name is FR8 or Freight Conductor. and he or she or they or what have you gets a SFU superpower. And there's nothing I like more than dropping this on a guest, which is what we did on our last program because Todd was my guest on Cook 47. So, bam, Cliff, Mr. Clint, Cliff or Clint or
either one works.
Cliff Clavin.
Sea Bog, I don't know, something like that. Yeah, what do you think about Freight Conductor? If he's doing something super, what is it?
And Clint, do you know Freight Conductor? He's part of the Discords, right?
Yeah, he's in XEP a lot. He bounces into spreading into the nerd too.
Oh, cool.
A great person. So, oh man, I did not see this coming. So, actually, my girlfriend was just talking about a superpower, and this is going to be it because I thought it was kind of cool. She thought it would be pretty cool if her superpower was if you were able to touch something of somebody that was missing or whatever, you'd be able to find out where they were, type of thing, like a telepathy type of thing, I guess.
Oh, like the object.
So you touch an object and you can tell, like if a shirt they wore, you can tell everything from their past and up to where.
It's like Sherlock Holmes.
Or, so some type of...
I can see the child labor that made your shirt.
This was made in a sweatshop in Malaysia.
That's like Chew. Have you read Chew, that comic, Clint?
I haven't.
Oh, that was what I was thinking of, because we talked about it over in the Patreon. Yeah.
I'll put that
sounds
down.
familiar.
Yeah, basically anything in Chew, basically he's a detective, but he's part of like the FDA because they've outlawed chicken because apparently it causes big disease. So he has the ability to eat food and he can track where it came from, which can be good, bad, and horrible. It's a great book, though. Very, very good.
Sounds really good, actually. I want to write that down.
Nice. All right, Todd, what do you got?
Oh, sometimes I lean into the practical, and I think I'm gonna have to do that because one of my things I struggle with at times is remembering people's names. Charlie, you know that, right? We talk about it. Remember that actor and so-and-so? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Bill Simpson, the guy who wore the shirts at one time? Yeah.
So if he has, and this is kind of one of those things, it's almost like those people that have those memories where they read it once and remember everything. But I'm going to give this. If he can remember an actor or athlete or artist or anybody like that after, and he knows their IMDb as well, which is helpful. And then he also applies to the everyday norm, which is he meets somebody for the first time, doesn't have to remember the name for a second time. It's just in the bank.
That's good. Magical memory powers. Your guys is to kind of harmonize a little bit, so I'm going to go in a totally different direction, and I might take somewhat obvious because of the Freight Conductor name. Now, all three of my kids, including my son Parker, my son Parker, who passed away a few years ago, were absolute devotees at one time or another of Thomas the Tank Engine. So I'm thinking Freight Conductor, he walks up to a train and he goes bippity boppity, and it's one of those engines. I'm talking Thomas, Gordon, Henry, the chick one, the other chick one, the helicopter, the one that's the construction. I don't, what I've forgotten. But anyway, Thomas is the one you got to remember. And then they have those weird like eyes where when they move the eyes go doo doo. So it's like a dollar bill following you when you walk in a room. It's messed up, I know, but it's kind of like being like a mutant. You don't necessarily get a great power. It's just something that comes out.
I was gonna say, what's the benefit? He gets to talk to them. Does he now get to own them? Are they best friends? And when they go chew, instead of choo choo, do they go I don't know what this is.
I think he's shaping them into some kind of army of the night for political purposes. I don't know. It could be. I hope I haven't set it up and maybe Freight Conductor
controls them. Yeah. That's even better than he's like the train master. So. Freight Conductor. That's he just conducts.
He can transport things without him being seen. What's
I was going to say the conductor in there. It was the fat conductor, which is that's very body shaming. I don't care for that. But it was Alec Baldwin or Ringo Starr or George Carlin at some point did all the voices. Crazy. So yeah, just put it all together.
And one has passed away. One is kind of controversial, and the other one is Ringo Starr.
Okay, so which one is dead and which one's controversial? Oh, that should be easy to figure out.
It should be probably pretty easy. And that other one is Alec Baldwin. Oh, no.
No. But anyway, yeah, welcome to the family, Mr. Freight Conductor. We're glad to have you on board.
He's a Michigander too, I believe, Shirley.
What? Oh, we're going to have to connect. I like it. Well, good. Well, please tune in over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Listen to all of our great extra programming. There's a lot of fun stuff. We've been doing these great creator interviews in the last 6 months, and we banked a ton of them. We just talked to Chris Claremont, Rod Roddenberry of Roddenberry Entertainment, Star Trek fame. That one dropped on our Patreon just this past weekend. So there's a lot of great stuff to find out. So yeah, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Try us out, and you'll be absolutely glad that you did. And something I'm very glad about is this cover. You got 90s Cap.
Charlie, this is going to be a fun one because once again, we've mixed it up. So Clint, you get a chance to tell me what the plot is, and Charlie gets a chance to remember the plot. And and quite honestly, if he gets it wrong, Charlie gets to be shamed because he is a Cap devotee. So we're going to have basically the rookie and the legend, and we're going to have to get through this.
I'm trying to figure out if I actually was still following the title, because the date with a $1.50 cover price and 431. This is going to put this at maybe 1995.
Okay, so that'll be the first thing. Did Charlie get the date right? Clint, do you want to take a guess? The date?
$1.50. I wouldn't know number wise, so that I'm gonna say, just for the arts, I'm gonna say 97.
Okay. Release date July 5th, 1994. This cover is a very unique Captain America logo. It says continuing the storyline that will change Cap forever. Of course, they always say that. Fighting Chance, Book 7. Is this the next Sentinel of Liberty? Introducing Free Spirit. Dave Hoover did the cover art. And if they weren't trying to capture the glory of Image, I don't know what was happening, because that's exactly what this woman is basically. It's I don't know what you call the look, but basically instead of like having just like no strips, she's got like the Amazon sash. She's got stars and stripes on her legs. She's got a sash on her belt. I don't understand this, and she's got like a weird half mask.
Well,
and she's got blonde hair.
And where does it connect? Now, here's my problem with the name of the character. Free Spirit, for a woman, tends to carry a somewhat negative connotation. So I think you're putting yourself in a bad spot right there. And the outfit,
isn't there a cigarette brand called Free Spirit too?
I don't know a lot about cigarette brands, so you tell me.
I think there's Native Spirit or something.
Native Spirit, that's what it was. It was the healthy cigarette of the 90s.
That sounds even more problematic. But I'm not getting the mask because it looks like it's one of those tie-off ones, because if you look higher up, obviously that's what's fluttering from the back of her head, but her hair is a little weird. So she's in wind. It's a leotard, but it's like half of like over the shoulder over something else, but definitely all leotard. The boots are the same as Cap's. The gloves are the same as Cap's. And I think this was from the storyline where Cap had lost his power and aged up, and he was wearing a suit of armor. That's what the Fighting Chance is. That's what I think the Fighting Chance is. And I think she's so inconsequential that there's no way to know anything about her. And the artist, Dave Hoover, is a tough name to have as an artist, because what do people say if they don't like your stuff? Sucks like a Hoover, right? Sorry, Dave. I don't dislike his art, but what is, is this Diamondback? Is this Cap's girlfriend Diamondback, and she's got a new identity? That's my guy.
Charlie thinks Free Spirit is Diamondback. Clint, what do you think?
I'm thinking, and like you said, absolutely rookie, especially this far back with Captain America. I'm thinking, what year did you say it was?
94.
94.
It was right after I got out of high school.
I was trying to think, maybe just throwing it out there. It's something political and something with women's rights around that time, and hence the Free Spirit.
The Lilith Fair. That's
all I can think of off the top of my head.
Lilith Fair and Lollapalooza. I got to haul ass to Lollapalooza.
You know what? Yeah, she would have been a great like '80s pop, member, like a girl band or something, like like the Spice Girls. She'd be Freedom Spice or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Freedom Spice. Freedom Spice.
All right, so break it down. What do we got?
Okay, so Free Spirit is actually a character named, you'll love this, Kathy Webster.
Oh, that is not Diamondback.
Okay, so here we go. Meanwhile, at Midwestern College, a weak and timid student named Kathy Webster is convinced to take part in an experimental performance-enhancing procedure that supposedly involves only subliminal actualization messages to unlock her true potential. Unbeknownst to Kathy, the process also involves being blasted by strange radiation and an extra anti-male message in her subliminal treatments. Dr. Deidre Wentworth, this is the doctor who performs it. Kathy soon finds herself to be stronger, faster, and more outgoing. Is inspired by Wentworth to don a patriot costume and invade a frat party to beat up the men there.
Oh my! I'm going to read this because this is on MU. But I was not pretty interesting. Actually. I was kind of on a hiatus with the monthly comic reading at this point. Like I think I was away, and then I started college that fall. So I think a lot of my subs had kind of fallen off, and so I do not believe I've read this one.
It picked a good time to fall off because Charlie, the biggest thing with Cap is he's got his condition is worsening, and Fabian is going to make him a tactical vest, just a vest.
Oh my goodness! So tactical turtleneck.
Yes.
Who was
Dickie, maybe?
Was this after Gruenwald's run? I really hope so. He didn't.
No, it's a Gruenwald. It's a Gruenwald.
I would not speak ill of the dead because I was such a big fan of his work. But yeah, the end of the run of Cap was like, whoa. Well, someone who, I don't think this was included in your plot synopsis, but Todd, I'm getting a feeling that the person who was really behind Free Spirit, you guessed it, our own senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. Pulling the strings, who made it happen. Yes, she was into some shady stuff back in the 90s, but these days, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine out there in Hollywood, California, getting us all the latest scoops and news in our segment, News and Scoops by Madam Webb. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Hope you're staying cool. From what I understand, your AC was turned off because you forgot to pay your bills. And so you have resorted to the oldest trope, which is just getting a big block of ice and sitting on it.
Right, you bet. Sit on it, Potsy. Oh, what do we got going on this week? So, Todd, this is a first in live action, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Classic Rogues Gallery Batman villain Clayface is getting a face. Is he getting a whole movie? What's going on?
Yeah, he's getting a whole movie. So this is actually one of the got a screenplay written, so which was one of James Gunn's tendency. Basically, you need a screenplay, I need a script before anything moves forward. That is in case happening. Mike Flanagan wrote the script. He's a great writer, great director, does a lot of cool projects with Stephen King, Netflix. So basically, they've teamed up, and we now have an actor to play this role, and he's a newcomer. His name is Tom Rice Harries. I think he's a Brit, and it's going to be coming from director of Speak No Evil, James Watkins. So I think this was Speak No Evil. I can't remember what the movie was. I don't remember. Somebody will tell me. But in the meantime,
we totally talked about it, but I'm drawing a blank. Clint, can you help us out here?
I can't on that one.
No, it's Clint fails. It's a horror movie.
Clint fail.
Yeah, so we're getting this film, and so Clayface, this story basically is one of Batman's tragic villains. He was an actor and essentially was ruined or given some type of toxin that made basically him unable to keep his current appearance, but he could then shapeshift Clayface to become any version he wants. The best take on Clayface that we've seen so far has definitely been either the Batman the Animated Series version or the Harley Quinn version, which is completely different, but they're both great takes. leaks.
Yeah.
And apparently this will set him up to be potentially a part of the new Rogues Gallery of Batman in the new take
Brave
on
and the
not the Batman, but the Brave and the Bold version. Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be happening, and then there's a little known about this film, but obviously the character debuted in 1940 in Comics number 40. But though he did say that Flanagan to say that the character's origin and appearance will be most likely inspired by Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
The two-parter Feet of Clay, which is a great thing because that is one of my pillars of Batman. So there we go.
You'll hear it. It's been a while since our Patreon program, The Facts Geek Life, has been on, but Mark and I teamed up and talked about the first season of Batman the Animated Series. So watching those episodes was great. So I really look forward to that. So this is a cool take because it's not necessarily where you would think to go. He's not pursuing the most bland, obvious avenues. Superman, then a Batman, then a Wonder Woman, it's not like he's not retracing the steps of what made the Snyderverse fall flat. In the esteem between Todd, at least Todd and myself.
Hopefully they're not following the Marvel or the Spumco, which is we bring out all these crazy characters and hope it works, and it doesn't. But the caliber of people involved in this project, I would hate to say it. I would hate to say that they put the Spidey movies to shame, but they do.
And
Clint
anything does, Clint, break it down. What do you think as a horror prospect?
I'm pretty excited for it just because, Clayface, like you said, isn't that, it's popular, but it hasn't really been in much stuff. So definitely awesome to see coming to the front line. But the thing that I'm most excited, I'm obviously excited James Gunn's involved, but like Todd had said, Mike Flanagan's involved, and I absolutely love his work. So super excited. I tried looking up this guy because I haven't heard of him. I looked up a couple videos on YouTube, and the only thing I could find on him was a quick video of him and Simon Pegg together in this horror British movie.
Oh, that's weird.
And he was in it for not long. So I'm definitely interested to see. Obviously they see something in him. So
interesting, good deal.
I think he's doing that with Corn Sweat. He's doing. I think he's going after lesser known commodities, which is great.
Exactly. Not pigeonhole him in. So this is and don't know why it wouldn't be October next year, September 11th, which is my dad's birthday.
It's the third official film, of the DC Gunniverse, or what are we calling it? Gods and Monsters.
Because next summer will be Supergirl, no longer Supergirl, Girl of Tomorrow, or whatever it was. They decided, and I love that. Read the headline, said they just wanted to keep it simple. So good deal. All right. Well, I am going to admit to you that while I am a Spider-Man guy, look around the room, it's everywhere. I did, and again, this is 1994, so this was a period of time that I was moving on to things, getting out of high school, going into college. That I was not a devotee of the Spider-Man 90s TV show. Watched a lot of it, but did not watch it to its conclusion in 1998. But I have heard that it ended in a cliffhanger. Which is a bummer. Todd, were you aware of what the cliffhanger is with it before this came out?
No, but I did enjoy the show a lot because it was was the taking the X-Men 97 formula with Spider-Man hitting a lot of plot lines and stuff. Thought it was really cool, a little goofy at times, but you got Blade, you got Morbius, you got all those cool characters. I think it's a cool series. And the fact that they're going back to the well and doing a comic, but they're not bringing back the main guy. But I'm not sure what the cliffhanger is.
So we're gonna have to dig in, and I believe those episodes are probably discoverable on Disney Plus. If I was to hazard a guess,
on Disney Plus.
Todd, bringing back this miniseries, a 4-issue miniseries that's coming out in September, I think. Who's the writer? It's someone we know personally. It's Wally Lumbago.
Yes, that's true.
You screwed it up too. We're going by Wally Lumbago. No, Clint, just for some perspective, we interviewed him on the Patreon not that long ago. Super nice guy. And awesome. A rising artist, Jim.
And he used the pen name.
Yes.
He did use the pen name Wally Lumbago on a piece because he didn't want his name to be associated with it. So that's his story with Wally Lumbago.
That's what and also I always screw up how I say his last name, but JM was responsible for Kraven's Last Hunt, which is one of the most iconic Spider-Man stories of all time that I read when I was a kid. But yeah, September 3rd, we'll get the first of a 4-issue miniseries around this, which will wrap up this cliffhanger that we don't know anything about. Clint, where do you land with this show? Are you ever a follower of it?
I vaguely remember watching it. No, I couldn't tell you what happened in it. I remember like flashes of the, how it was drawn out and stuff. But I think it's super cool that for, people that do remember the cliffhanger, like how awesome is it this much time along that they're finally going to get like, an answer.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it. So but yeah, this is pretty awesome. So yeah, I look forward to this. I'll probably actually read this since it's just a 4 issues. It's my favorite thing, which is a limited series. It's an event and then it's over. Todd and I talk about this all the time. Who wants to get emotionally involved in a comic like I am right now with West Coast Avengers? And then Todd and I have a wager on how long it'll go until it gets canceled. I don't want that anymore. I'd like to read something, and if it's done, it's a complete story. So that I like.
Yeah, probably the most known thing about this show is the theme song. Once again, a really good theme song. It's great. With a really weird CGI Spider-Man. It's a mix of CGI and traditional animation, but very fun Fox Kids time. Yep. I watched it when I was in college, on Saturday mornings. Yeah. Nothing better to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Todd, this next one's all yours because there's nothing creepier than this image. Oh, my God.
Okay, so yes, something from your youth and maybe from like the nostalgia of, I think the early 2000s was The Land of the Lost.
Oh, yeah,
so Land of the Lost was Sid and Marty Krofft live action series about a family. There's a great theme song, Marshall, Will, and Holly on a backstage expedition. They basically, the theme song, I won't sing it because I'll do it horrible, but basically they fall down a creek and then end up in like his prehistoric times where there's like weird like cavemen along with dinosaurs, and then there's these creatures called the Slee Stacks, which are they look like Gorns from Star Trek, but a little bit different.
Singular.
Yep. The Gorn. But yeah, so they are, and then there was the Will Ferrell. Will Smith should have made a Land of the Lost because that would have been great.
Retcon that. Yeah, you bet. Because there'd be a dance number and it'd be like Men in Black. Yeah.
Exactly. Will Ferrell, and then we also had a few other folks in that movie where basically it was a comedy of the time, kind of like the Starsky and Hutch, all the goofy kind of, 21 Jump Street. So they made a movie that was not well received, but apparently we're going back to the well with Land of the Lost. It's coming back and looking for the actual story that is linked here somewhere.
There is one paragraph down, and it simply says, Deadline reports Netflix has teamed up on a reboot, teamed up with Legendary Television for the Land of the Lost reboot. According to the outlet, Sid and Marty Krofft, as well as Marty's daughter, Deanna Krofft, she was at Star Trek Las Vegas a couple of years ago, which is so random. The CEO of their company will produce, which is in its very early stages, so probably 3 to 5 years out. But hey, it's a wacky concept. People like crazy stuff. And what's the name of the game these days? Content. So just throw content to the wall and see what sticks. But yeah,
Clint, is this something you actually experienced any of it from the 70s or the movie?
I remember the 70s TV show, watching reruns of it. So it'll be interesting to see what their take is on it and how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm all for like going to random like universes or whatever, or the center core of the earth, and all of a sudden there's a world inside a world all of a sudden. There's no molten core or anything, so it'll be interesting to see if they come up with more dinosaurs or some other random species.
Once we find out this is linked to the King Kong and Godzilla universe,
right? Yeah, they're in the background fighting.
That could be great. Apparently, though, there was a 1991 series remake on ABC. Had no clue about that.
No.
And then obviously the 2009 feature film. But I think I remember seeing this because they did do reruns on, I think, CBS 84 to 86. 85 to 87. And so that would have been primetime Todd watching CBS Saturday morning cartoons. So that's probably where I saw it.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so crazy. Speaking of crazy, Kevin Smith is back in the driver's seat writing some comics. So somebody finally decided, hey, DC and Marvel, you can make more money if you start jamming your characters together, which is something that happened back in the 90s. Early 2000s, going all the way back to the 70s. Todd, you've got that big book with all the crossovers, but Marvel and DC crossovers, we got a new crop coming our way. We got some kind of run-of-the-mill ones, Green Arrow and Daredevil. Wonder Woman meeting Captain America sounds pretty cool, but a character that I'm interested in now, because I have I have a short comic box that when I needed to get another comic box, this was the only one they had left. Jeff Landshark and Crypto. I'm into it. So a string of new miniseries that are going to be coming out. I'm looking for a date. These might be out now. No, September. Yep.
Yeah, DC Batman comes out. Deadpool Batman comes out September 17th. There's going to be another crossover from. There's going to be a Marvel version of that, and then a DC version of that, and then we're getting the Jeff and Crypto comic, Green Arrow, Daredevil, because Kevin Smith did really cool runs on both characters back in the day, and it was great. And I'm glad to see him come back in this type of closed format. And we're getting great talent on these books.
Yeah,
and
Greg Capullo, writing Batman.
Yeah, and then we got on the Captain America Wonder Woman book, we've got Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dodson. Terry Dodson makes beautiful comics. So, I mean, he's the perfect artist for that. And, both Wonder Woman and Captain America are both of the same time, when they were reemerged in that 40s era and stuff. So maybe, and how they bring them together, because obviously we know how they came together during the other crossovers. I'll be curious if they even mention, like, what is it, All Access? What was that character's name? Access? I don't know.
Wasn't that one of the myriad crisis crossovers? It was the Armageddon 2001 or something. What was that dude's name?
Well, there was a character specifically made for the DC and Marvel crossover that I can't remember what his name was. He was goofy. He had like a jacket. Yeah, maybe it was named Access. It probably was All Access.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yes, fine listeners of our program, please add us on socials and let us know. No, don't look it up. Don't look it up.
Okay.
Leave the listeners something to throw at us.
I have to know.
We need some suspense.
No, I must know. So
I bet Clint knows who the character is.
Yeah.
All Access sounds perfect.
I
vaguely remember it.
Very much so. Clint, where are you? Are you a Marvel guy, DC guy, a little bit of both, neither? Where do you land?
I would probably going to say more Marvel, but I do like the DC villains. But I love crossovers, if anything, even if it doesn't make sense. I'm just a fan of it.
Got to. That makes sense.
I am super excited for Smith to be back, but also, like you said, the Superman's dog Crypto and Jeff the Landshark. I think that's going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait to see what they do with that.
I got to toss myself into Jeff the Landshark because it seems to show up more and more, but I've not dug in. So I'm going to take that comic box I picked up at one of my local comic shops because I've been redoing my comic collection and get more educated about Jeff the Landshark because it could be important. Maybe
he's even a character in Marvel Rivals, which is just crazy. A video game character. He's dangerous and he's hilarious. He's cute.
He always looks so happy. I'm sure we will see Jeff the Landshark in a Marvel media TV or movie at some juncture in the future. So, all right, what else do we got?
So Disneyland is doing something very cool, which, not everybody can afford a Disney trip, especially Disneyland. Maybe you live other else or you're outside of the country. And they are releasing, basically they're calling it a POV walkthrough of the parks, kind of like showing you
nice.
what it's like to be on any of the attractions. And it's going to be coming to Disney Plus, which is great. So you're going to be able to explore all of these attractions. And they're going to hit July 17th, which is Disneyland's 70th birthday.
Wow.
And they're ride-alongs. Essentially, you're basically looking from your perspective these rides. They're going to be doing Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones Adventure, which I heard is amazing, Radiator Springs Racers, and the Incredicoaster, Haunted Mansion, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Cars Land, Pixar Pal Around, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Jungle Cruise, Soaring Around the World, Avengers Campus, Hollywood Land, Main Street USA, Mickey's Toontown, and 70th Celebration Nighttime Spectaculars. You'll notice the Star Wars attractions are not on that list because they probably think people will be going to it and it's a way to get in there. But it's pretty neat that they're doing this. So I don't know how long it'll be. It'll be snippets, or they'll give you like the whole experience of like walking through the ride line, because the ride lines are always fun because they typically try to do storytelling and entertain you while you're waiting for half hour or 45 minutes. So I think this is a great way to actually, it's great advertising because I bet a lot of people don't know a lot of these rides exist. Right. And especially if you're fine with just, Disney World in Florida, and you realize, oh wait, there's an Avengers campus in Disneyland that it's not in Disney World.
Right.
Nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm psyched for this because I think we're gonna do Disneyland in a couple of years. We're going out to LA for Star Wars Celebration if everything works out. But I think that it's a great primer, and like you said, it's beautiful cross pollination with the marketing synergy. People saying, "Oh, I didn't know anything about that," and blah blah blah, or the typical like, "Well, I've lived in Southern California my whole life, and I've never been to Disneyland. Now I want to see this thing." So this is cool, but like you said, it's bigger for people who can't afford it because it just April and May, it's easier for us to travel. But somebody with like 3 kids, forget it. Going to Disney, even if you live in California or Florida, I'm sure. So this is awesome. I will totally tune in to at least most of these. But yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. Clint, are you a Disneyland / world type? Have you been? Do you have interest?
I've been at Disney World. So I think this is awesome, not only for people like planning trips and being like, oh, I didn't know this was here, but also maybe after they watch it, they're like, oh, you know what, maybe we don't want to go here, and they can save more time. But, right. Like you said, people in other countries, not enough money, but I think this is also great for people with like disabilities that just can't go and can at least somewhat experience it. So I think it's a win-win all around for everybody, honestly. So
one of the things I do appreciate, they're not taking a lot of the cons where we've had it lately, where the cons, they don't release anything from them. And they're like, well, I mean, because my mindset was like, if you're going to go to Disneyland or something like that, you will not mind majority of the time other people getting to see these things. It's not going to ruin your experience. And quite honestly, it's like seeing a Broadway play like Hamilton. If it's on Disney Plus, great, because some people just can't afford a $200 ticket, and it doesn't ruin it for the people that are going. Just like Star Wars Experience or Marvel, the Comic-Cons where they don't release the trailers to the public. I'm like, are people really not going to go if they see this? No, they're going for those things. Yeah. This is a great way for them to get more attendance. And quite honestly, to your point, I'm going to Disneyland most likely in January. So this will help me decide which rides are actually worth it too, versus stand in line for 45 minutes and say, well, that wasn't worth it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Correct. So, well, cool. Good deal. All right. Well, that takes us out of the news. We have Todd, already you're in the spot, but Clinton and I are not. So we got to get in a transporter or maybe a jumbo jet or something to get us over to the Geek Easy. So I have got my Uber app out, and my vehicle has pulled up. Beautiful Lincoln Continental. Where do they? I don't think that you could do these old cars. But anyway,
Continentals don't exist anymore unless you're a cop or a limo driver.
I'm getting in this old jalopy. The guy's got his AM radio on, and I hear this familiar advertisement.
Hey, secret friends unite. Let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use. High quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geeky. Drinks are poured, cover band's playing. We are ready to get our nerd on. And Clint, since you are first to the party, you get to start.
So I started out with How to Train Your Dragon.
Making big bucks.
Sadly, I had never seen the animation, which I don't know how that happened because I love animation, and that one's hugely popular. My daughter's watched it 500 times, and then of course this came out, and she's like, "We're gonna watch it together." I'm like, "Fine, that's great." So I watched it like 2 days before I went and saw it, and it's literally shot for shot.
Oh, really? Okay, that close.
It is shot for shot. The script is basically the same.
Okay.
So if you liked How to Train Your Dragon, there was a couple new scenes that added a little bit more story, just a few minutes, but for the better. So if you like How to Train Your Dragon, you're gonna love this.
Nice.
Any thought of like? So you saw both. Is there one you prefer? Is there feel like it was better in animation, better live action? Different actors, though, right?
Honestly, different actors. The only thing, Stoic, the guy who plays the father, is Gerard Butler, and he played the voice actor in the animation, and he plays the live action character.
Gerard Butler.
But I think I like the animation more just because I love animation movies.
Yeah.
So, you just feel more connected to Toothless in it, just for his mannerisms and stuff. If you like the animation, you're gonna love this.
Nice.
What about Hiccup? Because the character, the guy who played Hiccup, I can't remember his name. He's kind of got a goofy voice, very iconic, very kind of nasally. And the guy playing this seems more like Teen Idol.
Yeah, the voice isn't. It's definitely his own voice. I don't think he tried to even copy what Hiccup sounds like in the animation, but it still comes across as fine type of deal. The only thing that's really different is that the twins, one of them is skinny and one of them's bigger. Other than that, that is the only thing that really they changed. And honestly, that was fine. It worked out great. In some of the
what's the name of the actor who got banned a few years ago, played in the Deadpool films, and
are you thinking TJ Miller? TJ Miller.
Yeah, because he was the voice of one of the twins, and they didn't welcome him back.
No. Nope.
Okay.
Other than that, I watched the Titan documentaries, which was about the submersible going down to the Titanic there, with the people lost their lives, and
oh Lord,
that was controlled by like a old Logitech controller or something.
It's one of those PlayStation controllers. You could have gone to like Dollar General and picked it up for like $15.
Oh boy,
it's
too much
one
money.
Of those. It was a fantastically well done documentary, both of them, but they both just made you like, I was sitting on the couch and with my hands up, and like, how did this happen? They're like, hand tightening screws as the submersible's going down. Like, what are you doing? And just so many like red flags throughout the years, how it had, it's terrible that it happened, but how it took this long to happen is just baffling. So if you want to look into it, definitely both ones on the Netflix and HBO Max or Max or whatever it is now. They keep changing every month.
It's HBO Max, or it will be very soon.
It hasn't shown yet up on my Netflix or whatever, or it hasn't shown up on my Roku yet. What it is due. So there's two of them. So you said there's like competing ones. Is there one you recommend? Like saying what's better, or what did you think was more entertaining?
The Netflix
maybe
one I liked a bit better.
Okay.
I think they had a little bit more information, some better. They had like older footage from years ago, so you could kind of really get even more pissed off at what they were doing.
Does James Cameron show up in this at all?
It's you, James Cameron.
I'm surprised. He was in a much better one across the way. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much all. I've been pretty busy, so that's all I've been watching lately. So yeah, and then a couple books, of course, horror themed. Stolen Tongues, which is about a couple trapped in a cabin, and there's this entity outside that can speak to you in your dreams. And whenever you're awake, anything that was in your subconscious, he can create the voice of. So this lady was like having a dream about her grandfather. So he like knocks on the door and is like speaking like a grandfather, like in the grandfather voice. That one's pretty good. The Devils is by Joe Abercrombie, my favorite author. And that one is basically a Suicide Squad set in an alternate medieval Europe, where a vampire, a werewolf, a magician, a necromancer, and a priest somehow come all together.
Like
and they're
long joke, and
and they're on like a quest. They don't want to be together, but they have to be together to finish this quest. It's supposed to be a trilogy. That's fantastic, and yeah, it's very, very Suicide Squad type. But it's good.
That makes me think. Did you ever watch the movie Solomon Kane?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great film. It was like, I was so cool when they made that character. I think it was Edgar Burroughs made Solomon Kane, I think. Yeah, right. Great underrated story, but it's kind of like that medieval times, and I always wanted, like, maybe they should get one of those together as Solomon Kane, and it's this character. I'm like, oh, that's just the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Right. And
that not as good.
And that did so well.
The comics is great, not the movie. Yeah. Well, very cool. I like the ideas of the books, and it does make me think, and I always bring this up, Charlie. Nothing ever good happens at a cabin in a remote location.
In the middle of winter, like a storm comes on, like that. It's very like stereotypical.
Clint's going to say, by the way, I live in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Nothing bad has ever happened.
Yes, exactly.
I feel like this book was written around me.
Oh my God. Clint, you're not really a werewolf, are you? It's okay. You don't have to tell us. It's okay.
No, I wish
it's actually not Clint. We're actually got a demon spirit talking to us. Yeah. That's okay.
There is no Clint. There is only Zool. There you go.
All right. Well, very good. People should check those things out. One of the things I wanted to check in, because I've heard so many good things about it, is ILM Behind the Magic. This is a Disney Plus series. Actually, I was kind of amazed at the talent behind this and all the people they got to be on this. But basically, this is really neat. Like, Lawrence Kasdan directed this. I didn't know he directed season 1. So it's very cool. I mean, we're talking like high elevated. We got Steven Spielberg. We get James Cameron. All these luminaries that are amazing, and it's every episode's a different theme. So I've watched the first 2. The first one is just about the creation of the ILM studio, how it all started, all of kind of the nonsense, everything behind it. And I love the fact that, it took a woman to come in and get these guys on track. These guys were like a rock band, a punk band of just creativity from all different areas. Goofy. They talked about, ILM and the fact that they made hot tubs and did slip and slides, and you saw some stuff that you're like,
now,
does that seem kosher?
I've totally seen this. Is the woman Marsha Lucas?
No, Marsha Lucas is not actually. They reference her and they show pictures of her. No. There's this other woman who came in. Basically, she was hired to basically walk around and follow George Lucas and basically just document everything he wrote, because there was no communication, no documentation of the dailies and everything was coming out. So she had some structure around all of these creative geniuses, which is great. And that's what they said. Basically, without her, we would have failed spectacularly. But the first one is all about that, how they gathered this. Yeah. It's kind of like getting the team together. Those classic movies where like, well, this guy knows a guy and this guy was from this area. And Joe Johnston obviously was a director of like the first Captain America movie.
The Rocketeer. Yeah.
John Dykstra, just a madman, a genius, and all this and all the tools they had to create that were not available. They were the first studio. It's really amazing. The second episode is all about just Star Wars, making Star Wars, and it's all about that film and all the things they had to do. And George Lucas, basically you get to find out that he was basically, he's a creative, but he's also a practical guy, understands budgets and things like that. So it was kind of cool that he had that. But everybody recognized. He even said, "I'm not a good writer." Which is like, great, recognize what you do. You're a visionary. You have an eye for film, eye for creation, things like that, which is great. And then he partnered with other people, and Marsha is right there. Marsha Lucas is right there. Every scene to make sure everything was on track. And he basically was a sounding board. George was open to ideas at the time. He knew he couldn't do everything himself. Right. Yeah, which is funny because then you see over time, I'm sure we're going to see more of that, where basically George basically says, it's all about George. And he kind of shuts down feedback and things like that. And it's my way or the highway. And they even said that he wasn't a director of people. Even like Ron Howard is great in this because Ron Howard basically says, George kind of doesn't know how to direct people, but he has a great way of building a world. And I'm like, okay.
I had watched, again, this was from 2004, The Empire of Dreams, which was this 2.5-hour special about making the original trilogy. And then it kind of tattered off and talked about the sequels. And it just Harrison and Carrie and Mark were just basically, trying to get a reaction out of George. You're trying to get him to give you some direction. And his answer was, first of all, he never talked except to say faster and more intense. That was his only direction. And then they had this great bit with Tony Daniels saying, well, he never said, who was C-3PO? He says, well, he never said that to me because I don't think C-3PO faster, more intense would be bearable. Do you?
Speak faster. But one of my favorite lines that Ron Howard had, he was like, basically he auditioned 6 times over 6 months for American Graffiti. Right. And then his feedback to George was like, well, George, why did it take so long? He goes, well, it took that as long to pick the cars. So it's like the cars were just as important as the actors.
He's a big picture guy.
Right
big
picture. There. Okay. Yes. Absolutely. And then, so that's on Disney Plus. But something I watched, you can watch on YouTube. Charlie has already mentioned this. I'd never seen the whole thing before, but I watched Max Landis's the death and return of Superman.
That's about 15 years old. I
was aware that I read stories about it. And I watched it. It's about 16 minutes long. I'm amazed. Great. Speaking of Ron Howard was even in this.
Right, exactly.
There was so many people that's that person in there. I think Mandy Moore was in it. Maybe she was his boyfriend at the time.
Right. Yeah, because it was so funny. I figured it was always just his group of friends, and they filmed it around his apartment complex in the valley somewhere because it's super low budget.
Wood.
Yeah. Yes. Because I'm going to go watch that again. You've inspired. It's saved on one of my YouTube playlists and has been for almost 20 years. That's how much I love it.
Well, if you have not watched it, it's basically a Max, because because I was watching a YouTube clip about Kevin Smith talking about how he was asked to write and write the next Superman film for Tim Burton. That then took, obviously, YouTube just kept on playing into the things. And that was one of the things. I don't know, Clint, if you've watched this before, but just Max Landis basically going through the comic book history of the death and return of Superman, which is very funny, very weird, a little bit overdone in some parts. Kind of like the dude is he's actually drinking as he's doing, which is funny because it's like drunk. It's like drunk history in a little ways too, right. And it's recreated that way. So maybe that's why they got the idea. But sometimes you're like, okay, dude, calm down a little bit. But he's a little bit full of himself.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who's kind of fallen on hard times reputation wise. I think he's gotten himself into some trouble.
Because he was wearing a shirt that said "See Chronicle." If everyone knows what Chronicle was. Yes.
Did not care for it.
I liked Chronicle for what it was, but obviously we know what happened next after that. But I think if you just want something fun and goofy, the life and death of Superman, or Death and Return of Superman, is very funny. It's a good snapshot of comic books at that time. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, I'm going to blast through right quick. Did not watch much this week, even though, between Star Trek projects and stuff, but I did. It was a slow week at work because I was home with the dog because my wife was out of town, so I wasn't on the road. But I was catching up on stuff, and I had like a bunch of stuff drop at once. So, Todd, the West Coast Avengers still being published. I think they're having a pretty interesting story.
How many issues? No,
I think we're up to 10. I think your bet was 13.
Can they get an annual out of this, Charlie? That's all I want to know.
Do they still do annuals? Yeah, I guess they do still do annuals. But their ongoing storyline, and they brought Wonder Man into the mix, which I love. They brought in Flag Smasher, which is a classic Cap villain. But it's all about a unit, an Ultron unit that's become a member of the team, but another Ultron unit that has created a religion around melding humans and Ultron tech. And I like what they're doing. They're stretching the story out in a way that I think is kind of interesting. Weird miniseries wrapped up this week that I've never read a series that there's like 3 to 6 months between the issues, but Aliens versus Avengers, which I was reading over a year ago, and this was the first and final issue. Yeah, really.
You're reading this on Marvel Unlimited?
No, I purchased this, so I read this on Kindle.
Really? That long? Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, exactly. So, but obviously it's an Elseworlds tale, as it were. It would be, what if there was a xenomorph invasion on Earth during the regular time period of the Marvel Universe, and only a handful of the characters survived. It was, and they're all elderly, so it's like maybe 30 years after the invasion. So you got a very old Tony Stark, a very old Carol Danvers, Miles Morales, Bruce Banner, and all of the mutants live on Mars, including Mr. Sinister, who is a very big villain in this final issue. The Wakandans left Earth to build a star empire, which was also destroyed by the aliens. So there's a lot going on in this. So Todd, I would say when this finally lands on Marvel Unlimited, it gets my recommendation. I would
in like 5 years then? Because don't they release it as it's off the wait?
Yes. No, I think it'll be there in 3 months because that's the Marvel Unlimited window, and you'll get the final issue. But I enjoyed it. And then secondly, and no disrespect to Mr. Larry Hama, who we had on the show, but I actually followed the newer version of G.I. Joe, the Energon Universe version that is coming out from, it is IDW, isn't it? It's Image.
No, it's all Image now. Yeah, Skybound.
Yeah. But they flipped the script on this. Scarlet is a villain. Baroness is on the G.I. Joe team. And so this was kind of a neato team up where the Baroness, after their first big arc wrapped up, she said, I need 48 hours to have some leave time, and Duke reluctantly lets her go, but assigns CoverGirl to be her shadow. And then you get to learn all about CoverGirl's background while they're in Europe together. But Major Blood is an assassin hired to kill her. So that is where the story takes shape. So I'm digging it. I love these new versions of the new characters. I'd love to see Major Blood get some respect because he was always really dissed in both.
I just saw his action figure on G.I. Joe, the new figures here. He looks great.
I've had that, and they have a retro version coming out now, but I have the original version that was a Target exclusive a couple of years ago. So this was more newish, where the newer one is a little bit more retro. But regardless, and then I finally read it and I left it, and now I'm back to it because it's given me my fix. IDW has had a Star Trek Lower Decks. This is their second volume. So I snagged, and of course, because comics have been out there for a while, I got them for $2 instead of $5 or $6. So I grabbed, and then I subscribed to it. So I grabbed 4 or 5 issues in a row. I read a couple, and they're beautiful. It's fun. It's very reverent in the way of the series. At the bottom of every page has a little postscript on it that has just like a little extra joke of like what came from it. So it's almost like reading a comic strip. So it's very fun. If you're missing Lower Decks the way that I am and the way that a lot of the Star Trek community is, definitely something worth tuning in about. So yeah, that's it. That is it for the Geek Easy. The time has come to get to the land down under. I've got my Air Qantas app out. Hologram Tina and the mutants await us to talk about 28 something later. So let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, I guess the mutants should be very excited because we're talking about 28 days, weeks, and years later. The little film that created a franchise that I was unbeknownst that this would actually happen, years apart, years between. And apparently we're even getting a fourth film as well. These films are a tour de force. Danny Boyle, the guy, who went from Train Spotting to this to Slumdog Millionaire. So many different types of films that the guy can make. He's really amazing in his style. He can't pin him down to do one thing. He's been highly involved in this franchise. 28 Days Later was 2003, $8 million budget, $85 million worldwide box office, 86% Rotten Tomatoes. 28 Weeks Later, 2007, so just 4 years later. So actually, that's not even. It should have been coming out in 2003 because that's 28 weeks later. Sorry, sorry, my joke. $15 million budget, 65 million worldwide box office, 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then we basically got the new movie 28 years later. Danny Boyle's back, written by Alex Garland, who's amazing. This film came out June 20th, 115 minutes, $75 million budget, and it's currently at an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. So we'll talk about the most recent film, but Clint, since you were the one I reached out and said, do you want to talk about it? He goes, yes, I love this series. So I'm like, who's more perfect to talk about the first? You just give us a recap of kind of like the first two films really quick, and then, we can give our favorite parts of that, and we can move on to the star of the show.
Yeah. So, 28 Days came out, like you said, in 2002. And it definitely, I was living in England at that time, so it really took over England by storm there.
Oh, you were? I was just a kid? I mean,
I was basically just a kid. I was 20.
Yeah.
Oh, you were 20. Okay. So yeah.
Yep.
What were you doing in London?
After I got out of high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a friend over there, and they're like, do you want to come over and hang out? And I came over, and I hung out for 3 years.
I like that. Shaun of the Dead and all those things got you excited about it, right?
Yeah. So 28 Days was huge over there. But anyways, it starts off with basically, like you said, it was an $8 million budget, which you could tell. And just by the way it was filmed with the dirty, it was like very, not B-ish, but you could tell it was like low quality camera, low lighting, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But you start off in like I'm guessing a research facility, and there's basically monkeys of different species that are watching just violent TV. It's just like people killing each other, wars, bombings, just constantly feeding into them, and they want to set them free. And as they're setting them free, one of the officer guys comes in, or researcher, doctor comes in. He's like, you can't let them go. They're infected with rage. So that's all we got. We never really knew if they actually gave them something to, like a sort of virus, and just watching images gave them more, or if
they became Fox News watchers, I think.
Just watching something over and over.
Mega monkeys?
Them,
no way.
Gave them rage. One of them gets out. Droplets of blood get. All you need is a droplet of blood in your eye, any type of skin scratch, anything, and then you're immediately infected.
Yeah, it's like what they say, 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds, and you're like,
it's just blood. It's not saliva, and it actually has to go into like. It has to go in like an eye or in a membrane,
eye, mouth, or
maybe a cut.
Yeah. So after that, it goes to Cillian Murphy in a hospital, who wakes up, and basically all of England is already been taken over by this. He goes out and
he's totally naked.
Totally, it's definitely a theme with
his bum.
You see his full front. April and I watched this a couple of weeks ago. He's full frontal nude. He wakes up in the bed, and there's all his twig and giggleberries. And
Dr. Oppenheimer, hide your shame.
Yes, get this boy a pair of pants.
Yep. So it is funny to see him in this role, and then see how huge he's become as a star. Yeah. But they went and they closed down the bridge in London. I just remember people were so complaining how they closed down streets of London and stuff about it. He goes around in London, finds other rage people, runs around. He meets up with a couple. goes along with them, meets up with a father and daughter team. They end up hearing like a radio transmission that a military base is still operational. They go there. Apparently, the military people are bad. They want the women to basically breed them to bring back a new style of population type of thing. And they think they kill Killian, but he comes back and he unleashes, I should say, more rage into the house, which is probably one of the best horror scenes with music and stuff of him just running through the house and rage infected, killing these troops and saving the his girlfriend and the young girl. So that's the end of that one. Well, they and then it cuts to 28. I think it says 28 days later.
They end up escaping and they're living
they're in like a cabin.
Yeah.
And
there was something good happens
overhead.
in this cabin. It's a good cabin situation.
Yeah. So the first film, there was some decent actors in that too. Wasn't blanking on his name.
Well, the military dude was Eccleston, Christopher Eccleston. So Doctor Who.
And then
also was in Dog Soldiers, a British werewolf movie. I don't know if you saw that one.
The dad was Domhnall Gleeson's dad.
Yes. Who is also he's
Moody.
Great actor.
Mad-Eye Moody.
Yeah, and he's also in Bruges, and he was also in that most recent film with Colin.
I know the one that April and I never got through.
The friends who no longer to be friends. Yeah, great. Domhnall, is it Domhnall Gleeson? No, Brian Gleeson. I can't remember his name is.
Brandon Gleeson.
Gleeson.
Or Brendan. Domhnall's the son. Yeah, he was in Star Wars. Yeah,
that's right. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. So, that movie was great. I really enjoyed it. It was such a surprise. I mean, you think about the fast zombie era was kind of like what Dawn of the Dead and that film were kind of the emergence. And then if you remember looking at the opening of that film, Walking Dead just copied that, right? With Rick waking up,
big time,
copied directly from that. Yeah.
And it came out at almost exactly the same time comic wise, because the Walking Dead came out in 02 or 03, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. It was just a big coincidence, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, zombies were starting to get big with Shaun of the Dead, and kind of a really amazing era of horror. And, I remember seeing this. I'm like, man, this is unique and different. And definitely the budget didn't hurt it. I think it actually helped it because they do some really unique things with it.
Yeah, they shot it on just camcorders, I believe. That was the note I read. So it was, and they said, the note I read said it enabled them to get around to do things super quickly without having to deal with all the fancy hullabaloo of cranes and this shot and that shot and permits. I think it's amazing that even on that they were able to, like you said, shut down London Bridge and shut down the street and that street. That's insane that they were able to pull that off.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially for a small time movie. Honestly, they didn't know how it was going to be first in a series and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Walking Dead 2003 comic. Yeah. So essentially probably inspired by this film. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us about the second film, which I have a thought on that when you're done about.
I just watched it. So I'm fresh on the movie. I just watched it like 2 days ago.
Yeah. But take us away.
I watched it. I mean, I watched it when it first came out, and then I rewatched it probably like 2 months ago. So basically 28 weeks later, no word of Cillian Murphy, those characters at all from there. So basically they're all the refugees that went over to France, other companies and countries are now slowly going back into England, and it is being the whole process is being controlled by the American military for some reason. That must be like a NATO thing, everybody together and stuff. But they're slowly working and pushing in type of deal, and finding out that rage, you basically can't contain rage at all. There's an outbreak, of course, and I'm trying to think what the main character, he was in Stargate SG-1.
Robert Carlyle, and Sick Boy not Sick Boy. What's his name from Trainspotting? The really angry guy, Big B.
Yep. So he's like the main character in that. And once again, the opening scene from this one is in a house and he's running. I think it's another iconic.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, agreed.
Where he's running, gets to the boat and stuff. So good. But yeah, he's there for a while, and then his kids come over, and they're the problem, of course, because she wants to go and see outside and find her house and all this stuff. And then, they basically find the mother, bring back rage, all this crap. So yeah, she's
immune to it, right? But she is
she's a Typhoid Mary type. So yeah.
But she's out of her mind, and one of the interesting things about this film was I did not know Jeremy Renner was in this film, plays one of the Americans. Rose Byrne plays also a major who's basically in charge of the medical, clearing people to come to the country. Hero Perrineau from Lost, also in this.
Which Lost was going on at this time. So I got to tell you, Tale of Two films, for me, the first one, brilliant. Couldn't have done anything better. The second one was a bloated Hollywood nightmare because it's just I thought the plot was stupid. Every part of it was like, okay, well, why did Robert Carlyle make out with his wife? Because why was there no security that he could just walk on in there and be like, oh my, and then he gave himself the virus and then murders her by jamming his thumbs in her eyes. And then it's like the whole of it made no sense.
Oh, this film felt more like this film did have a lot of problems. Although myself, I like how they traverse to be like, you're in a city setting, and we're seeing actually what this means to a city where they're actually they think they've got it contained, and how does this go? And I really appreciate that. I did, I wanted to kill the kids because why the hell did you go out there?
It was totally contained, and these stupid kids, Todd, like you've always said, why do kids exist in anything to get kidnapped or ruin things? And that's all it was. Everything was fine. Yeah. And these kids were like, let's go find our mom, or let's go to our house so I can get a picture or whatever.
Yeah. And Robert Carlyle, man, I mean, obviously you guys comeuppance, and this was part of it because he was not a good guy. Things happened because of him, and then he just became the ultimate rage beast. And man, this movie had so much in my mind, just crazy moments of just like, oh my God, it's like, wow, feeling overwhelmed. And like, even the Americans wanted to kill everybody because they basically let loose and what's his name? Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Yeah. He was the colonel. Yeah.
I think he's the scene commander because he obviously were overseeing against the Americans. He was in charge of the Americans, but he's obviously British. Yeah. So I did like parts of this, and we did obviously get this, basically find out that we do have another hope for the world with the little brother. But man, I was so worried that the little brother was just going to be a rage monster too. And then we're going to be like, oh, poor girl, Imogene Poots, man, that girl's miserable.
I know. Yeah. So you're right. At the end of it, just to put a pin in this before we move on, Robert Carlyle attacks the little boy and, shoots a loogie in his mouth or whatever. And then Robert Carlyle gets killed off. But the little boy, so a little blood
I thought he did more. I thought he bit him or something.
Or, maybe he did. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen it, but that was the same deal with the mom. She was a carrier, which means she had a little bloob in her eye, which means if somebody, got his blood. So maybe, and then did you end up seeing the after part? So they jump forward.
Yeah. I was surprised at that when I saw the Eiffel Tower. I'm like, oh crap. They went through the tunnel.
Well, I mean, that's where they were going because they show up in the abandoned football stadium with Harold Perrineau in his helicopter and he flies them away. But obviously once they get there, the kid gets a paper cut. He wipes it on somebody and they get the virus and it starts all over again. So
I missed that part. I just saw that. I remember seeing I missed that part. I just saw them coming out.
And then you see people running, you hear them screaming. So he did something to get it started all over again. You didn't get that? You missed that?
No, I missed that part. I don't remember. Okay. I do remember him. Yeah. Like he had, okay. So I didn't put two and two together. So thank you for calling that. I just thought maybe they went through the tunnel or something and got there too.
Yeah. So. No. But regardless, obviously by the time we get to the third film, it's been the virus was not contained, although we do get kind of a title card that tells us kind of where everything is at. But anyway,
So
right.
we have now we're going to introduce 28 years later. We'll do what we normally do. Basically, this film. It's funny that when you look at the budgets, it went from 8 to 15 now to $75 million.
Right.
The tagline is a group of survivors on the rage virus lives on the small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission to the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected but other survivors. We've got Jack O'Connell. We've got Aaron Taylor Johnson, Rafe Fine, Jodie Comer, Erin Kellyman. I don't remember who that was in the film.
And she is, of course, she's Flag Smasher from Marvel, and she's what's her butt from Solo, whose name I'm forgetting. Emphas Ness.
Yes. And then Alfie Williams playing the kid Spike in a great performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty impressive cast of a lot of mostly unknowns. So they didn't spend the money on, actors. They spent it on kind of like setting the basically the premise of this movie. Now we're basically on this really interesting island that is separated except for a land bridge that high tide makes it go away and come up. And
it's the real deal. And again, maybe Clint, you know about this because you've been over in England, even though it's the north, like the far northeastern, northwestern coast. It's this weird little island. The land bridge is a real thing. It's called Lairdman's. Damn, I should have saved a link, but it's a real deal. And right now, I think nobody really lives there, but it's this huge tourist attraction. But yeah, it's the same thing. The bridge raises and lowers that you can walk across it. So that part of it was real. But they make it more like, because this is more Scotland as opposed to England, but it is the same island. So it's kind of set within that. But yeah, this title card tells us that the rage virus has been jammed into coastal UK. And the rest of the world is fine, which April and I found fascinating. So other nations have created this quarantine.
That leads me to think that's interesting. So we say the rest of the world is fine. So even though in the last film we saw crazies,
but
they must have fought them back.
Yeah, it said that it pushed back from Europe or whatever.
Because what's interesting in the second film is they do point out that these rage monsters still need to eat or they'll die, because the ones in England starved out. That's why they got England back, because the rage monsters aren't like Walking Dead zombies or zombies where they're just undead. These are just virus-infected, crazy, biological living people that can be killed by not eating.
Until they can't find, although we did see, and we'll probably get into this, but basically we did see different versions of the rage monster. We got the bloated ones, which were kind of like creepers. Then we've got a certain one that we see towards the end of the film that looks like a certain person who looked more like a zombie because he was desiccated like on his last leg. So basically but that would be 28 years later. So I don't know how long it takes them to finally perish without eating, even though
less than 28 weeks, because that's how they set up the other film. But yeah, you're right. So in the time that goes by, this 28 years, this virus has continued to mutate, but somehow the nations of the world, so NATO has managed to push anybody who's still infected back into just the British Isles. So that's the only place where infected are.
And they have patrols from other NATO countries, so Switzerland, Sweden, France, probably other countries like that. So we do get kind of the world is okay, excluding this. Now, the way this movie opens up, it opens up in the past, and we are shown all of these children watching the Teletubbies, and I felt so horrible for these children because they're trying to be distracted while horrible things are happening. And you see these little kids and they are hating it, but they have to watch it, obviously, because they know what's going on, not hating the Teletubbies. Yeah, not hating the Teletubbies, but they know that when they're in this room trapped together, they have to just be quiet and not react to what's going around them. And this was a harrowing sequence again.
Oh, big time.
And we get introduced to this little boy who escapes, and he basically escapes this house where they're overrun, and then he goes to a church, And he finally gets in, and this pastor, it's like this father, this priest, basically is welcoming in essentially the rapture, and he thinks it's these creatures are coming to get him. So he gets the rosary beads from the priest, and then you see this boy escape, and that's kind of then fast forward us to the new place where we're going to spend most of our time.
It's so interesting because it threw me, because I immediately assumed, okay, well, time jumps forward, and this little boy grows up to be Aaron Taylor Johnson, and that is not correct.
Well, we don't find that out until the very end of the movie, right? Yeah.
But you're right. We jump forward in the future. So Jamie, who's played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, is married to Jodie Comer, who is Isla. She is Isla. And she's sickly. She's bedridden. We don't really know why. Her mind seems a little blue anytime she talks. And their son is Spike, and he's 12. And he seems like a scrappy young lad. But they live in this hunter-gatherer society where everyone has roles. They have the town meeting with the quilt, and, this guy, here's the different parts of our society. You're a fisherman, or you're a this, or you're a cobbler, or you're a blah, blah, blah. And so things have really kind of jumped backwards to, medieval times. That's basically what their world has turned into, but it becomes very interesting because it's just them. They're the kind of the people under the dome, the savage land, where they exist in this other pocket of reality. But all right, so Clint, take us through what's going on the island and what happens from there.
I don't know. I have thoughts on the island. I think that, I don't know, after seeing a few shots and stuff, like they have like weird masks and stuff. And if you're looking at in the background, there's like weird masks. There's like different types of like flags and stuff. And I don't know. I feel like going further that like this island is going to be actually the bad people. I feel like, I don't know. But yeah, so he takes the father there, Aaron Taylor Johnson, takes Spike out against the mothers. The mother doesn't want him out. He's too young. He's only 12. Should be 14 or 15 when they leave. So he takes them out and goes across that bridge. It's low tide. They come across the bloater or the feeder, whatever you want to call it, as they come across in a really disgusting way of eating worms and stuff. And it was very, like, the sound effects were very, in your face type.
And it tended to go on for a while, yeah.
Is that because they're well fed, or just because they're so soggy with like moisture? I couldn't figure it out.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I just got to ask at this point, why is literally every rage zombie? Why are they all naked? What did I miss that nobody has a square clothes?
Well, their clothes are going to get probably pulled off of them.
Yeah, wear and tear, I guess.
20 years later, your clothes are probably not going to hold up. I mean, our Public shirts didn't hold up for 2 months.
But yeah, exactly. But it's like, assuming that these rage infected, we'll just call them infected, that these infected are still mortal beings, and it's Scotland and it doesn't look like it's too hospitable weather. How are they running around with their ding dongs hanging out? Because that alpha, by the way, holy cow, he was a substantial man.
I had to cover my eyes.
Yeah, that was the part of it. I was like, okay, well, it's an island. It's that UK climate, which I haven't been to the UK but once in my life, and it was a long time ago, and it was May in Ireland, and it still gets a little chilly. How are they not all dying of hypothermia, running around with their ding dongs hanging out? So that was my suspension of disbelief.
How did cavemen survive? I guess that's the real question, right? If cavemen survived, that's what they kind of turned into, right?
They had loincloths and they lived in caves, thus the name caveman.
Well, the rage doesn't allow you to be very probably proactive. Don't plan for the winter, Charlie.
Yeah, they're not.
Hang out at a pub, get drunk, and be angry like a frat boy. I don't know.
Like Free Spirit. She's gonna show up. Yeah,
she would take him down a notch. All right. So one thing that was interesting, they did say before they left that they said, we will not let you back in.
Right. When you go, if you come back, that's fine. But if you don't come back, we'll
look for you. Because we see they show the basically somebody got back in apparently, or they were lost and they had all the graves there. So they have a society. They have their ways. It's been 28 years, so there's still some of them remember the things, some of them don't, which I liked when they kind of covered off on kind of some of the things the kids would know versus they wouldn't know. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And something we learned a bit. So they go on their little expedition. They, father and son come home. And I was telling Clint, I'll just confess my sins. I was telling this to Clint before you jumped on, Todd. We had been out to dinner. I'd had a couple of beers. I wasn't feeling great. I slept for about 20 minutes and had to have April fill me in on what happened when they came back. Because I didn't remember the party. I didn't remember.
You gotta eat after the movies from now on, Charlie. I think they'll keep you more focused.
I'd been stuffing popcorn as well. I didn't remember Aaron Taylor Johnson hooking up with some random broad, and then the fact that the kid ran into it. And then I just woke up to Aaron Taylor Johnson smacking his kid. I'm like, what's going on? Then I was definitely awake. But yeah, that's what happened. So he witnessed all that, and then there's a fallout between father and son, and because the son confronts the dad on his stuff, and this leads to son and mom getting mom out of her sickbed, and she's all, "Oh, what's going on?" Blah, blah. Like she's
you're getting ahead because essentially the boy knows mom's not right. Nobody knows what's going on with her. Yeah, right. She's come out and said, I have pain, and she kind of confuses people, like she's calling Spike dad, and then there's there must be a friend of the family. It's a friend of the family, I assume.
The older guy.
Is watching her when they're out at the pub, and he mentions Spike mentions to the old guy, "I saw fires, but I don't know what it was. Dad wouldn't tell me," and that's when Sam, I think is the guy's name, mentions Dr.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Ray Fiennes. That's all you need to know. Dr. Ray Fiennes.
Okay, Dr. Phlox, whatever we're going to call him. Basically, he is a doctor, but he would not tell him about what his dad saw when they saw it many years ago. Yeah. Spike confronts him now after he's mad about his dad, essentially thinking mom's going to die. And he even asked, "Is Rose going to be my new mom?" And he basically confronts him and said, "Mom, he's a doctor. I heard about a doctor. Why wouldn't you mention it?" And that leads into kind of like him feeling like, I got to find help for mom and I'm going to go there. But we did get, we didn't talk about the alpha though. So basically at this point, when they were originally on the island, all this stuff happened. The kids were surviving. And then they see this character that looks like a caveman. Essentially, at this point, they've reverted back to Captain Caveman, where you call him. And man,
no loincloth.
Well, not only that, but they're apparently super strong. I mean, he can essentially remove people's heads from their body.
Like a zombie predator.
Headless with the spine hanging loose. So to jump things forward, yes. So at this point, Spike decides that he says, "I'm taking my mom. We're going back, and we're gonna find Dr. Ray Fiennes, and he is." Oh,
sorry, this is spoilers, guys. We didn't do that. We typically have been doing spoilers after.
You know what? It's gonna be okay. So yes, spoilers. Thank you, Ed, to this time mark 122:59 or 123. So now. So Spike has taken his mom on this voyage, and we intercut with a group of soldiers being chased by rage monsters. And these guys are normal-looking dudes, full tech gear, automatic weapons, and they get picked off one by these rage monsters until there's just one dude left who escapes, but then he stumbles upon Spike and Mom. And his name is Eric, and he's from...
He's from Sweden.
He's a Swedish, NATO, whatever. And it's really interesting. So he's helping him along, but he's not really a very nice guy because he's saying, "Oh, your mom seems like she's a crazy bitch." And
well, he's kind of pissed off because he knows now that their ship hit something and they went inbound to England. And once they're there, they are not going to be rescued. So he's kind of like, "I'm screwed anyway. So can I survive?" And I'm like, "Oh, by the way, now I'm trapped by helping these people with a couple of bullets to take out these rage monsters because they were about to die in was it a benzene? Like it was like a roadside place with benzene just releasing in the atmosphere."
Oh, that was great. It was a Shell station, but the S had fallen off, and there was also a restaurant attached to it. It was hell. Shell hell. Yeah, and he ends up saving them. And so, they're going along, but obviously Eric is not super psyched about it. And so,
And then the funny part was Obviously the mom is struggling, and then he decides that Eric is going to be a good guy and pick her up and carry her. How long? And
Hanging on back of him like this.
And then they're talking and they're going back and forth. And I did like this, the part I liked. Basically, Eric tries to explain a lot of stuff that are modern, like online and all these things, cell phones. He's like, oh, you probably don't have that either. Or you probably don't have that either. Oh, crap. Shows him the phone. It's like one bar and they said it's pictures. Then he shows him his girlfriend, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And his girlfriend looks like, kind of like a Instagram model with exploded lips and, looks a certain way. He goes, what's wrong with her?
Does she have an allergic reaction to shellfish or something?
Yeah, exactly. The shellfish thing.
So good.
And then the phone dies. He's like, you little bastard. But so they're walking along. And so the next big set piece is they walk along to an abandoned train car where, Jodie Comer's out of it, but she walks in because she hears hunting and grunting, and there is a very naked woman who is having a baby by herself. And Jodie Comer's
it's one of the rage monsters.
Exactly.
Infected.
But Jodie Comer's Jodie Comer's out of it, but she's like, I will help you. So they push hands together. So the woman pushes and she pumps out this baby who at the first sight looks completely uninfected and everything is fine. Spike shows up, pulls out the little buck knife he's been carrying along and cuts the cord. Baby seems fine. But when Eric walks in, then the rage monster lady, after having the baby, then lurches forward and he blows her away. Not a big surprise. But then he's like, I have to kill this baby too because the baby is infected.
So the baby is born now. And then the mother goes back into rage mode or whatever. So Eric blows her away. And then we get kind of like a story thing of what's been going on because he says we can't let them keep breeding or breeding. So apparently either they're advancing or whatnot, but apparently the rage infected can now breed. So maybe that's why we're getting more.
Right.
Maybe they infect the babies and then they age, and maybe that's why the alpha was so mad.
Yeah.
But the Spike and the mom take the baby. Alpha comes along, kills Eric, and they run off. And that's when
gets a souvenir, right?
Yeah. And that's where we meet Dr. Ray Fiennes, and basically he can put the rage people asleep with just some morphine and a blow dart and a few other things.
Right.
A little cocktail that he makes up, and he's just there. And I guess he named the Alpha Samson, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, right.
But
he's got that nice hair and that huge crank.
Yeah. But also, if you can sedate them, I'm not really sure why he just didn't kill him.
I
don't know.
Is he just a pacifist because he's a doctor and he doesn't kill anyone?
Oh,
he just knows how to just hide and do all those things. Is that what it is?
Maybe.
I mean, it could be. But yeah, to your point, they go back to his little camp, which ends up being kind of like remember the Burbs and what was in the basement? It kind of ends up being a little bit like that. But yeah, what's back at his camp?
It's what did he say? Was it memoir?
Well, Memento Mori. This came up in an episode of Star Trek recently. Remember the Dead.
He says that to the kid, and from a distance, the kid does end up getting it out of the father, I believe, that he saw the doctor with a bunch of bodies lined up and was burning them. Now he has.
I was going to say, Clint, even the memory he has, he's waving at them please join me. I've labeled all these bodies. He's like a kook. Right?
Yeah, which to be fair, I would be pretty scared, and I'm like, I'm not going back here for 15 years either.
Yeah, right.
But he's basically has towers of bones, and in the middle he has all these skulls stacked up in a giant cone, and he tells Spike it's these are the memories of the people that died from infected or from other things, and I was like, okay, cool, I can understand that, but you're definitely a kook for sure.
Yeah,
I think.
What does he say? He bathes himself in iodine because he's that will keep me from getting infected. So he's a little bit weird. Right. Yes, a little odd.
But he's surviving though. But yeah, so he's got them back at the camp, and he finally, because the doctor can finally give Jodie an exam, and he works her over, and does all the physical exams that he can do, and she is just riddled with cancer. That's what he figures out. So she's not going to make it. That's why she's so loopy. But she has breast cancer at the very least, and
it's either spread from the brain to the body or the body to the brain, because she's riddled with nodes. He went through the lymph nodes. He has no way to detect. He has no medicine. And this is where the movie really, for me, changed its tone. Yeah. And it was surprising. I was like, this is now turning into really the first time we've really had a chance to just reflect on the world, the impact, all this stuff to everybody, and the fact that he basically talks about death. And that's why every skull that's there is because it's a person who, what they saw with these sockets, what they tasted with their mouth, and all these things, a memory. And he wants Spike, because Eric is the first one that the doctor is basically, he's got a process that's why he has the fire. That's why he has the process to basically get the flesh off of the skulls, and then take the skulls, clean them, and then place them as kind of a memory of each life that was lost. So in a lot of ways, it was very wow. It was like, I did not expect this from the series. And it was really heart touching, but obviously for some people, that's probably not what they wanted from this movie. But for me and Spike, what he was going through as a young man and trying to find his way, and for me, it was like, wow, I did not expect it. It was a huge surprise, and I enjoyed this bit, but obviously some people will not.
Well, it's definitely on the fringe. And so as you can imagine, this is going to be the end of the road for Mom. But Dr. Ray Fiennes euthanizes her and does it off screen, and then goes through we don't go through it, but we go through the process, and eventually he comes back.
Well, he has to sedate Spike too, because he knows Spike is going to be
he's going to flip,
inconsolable. He's going to do this, but she wants him to, her last thing is like, hold the baby. I want you to take care of the baby. So basically he's sedated like Samson was, and he gives him a chance to basically be there for the baby. That's what the mom wants. And then when Doctor comes back with that skull, Spike doesn't freak out. He has it finally comes together. He's like, Mom's in a better place, and he gets to honor her.
Yeah, and he does that by his very cool bit. He climbs at Ray Fiennes' encouragement. He climbs to the top of the mountain of skulls, and he places her at the top of it. He looks at it and speaks to it and the skull, and then places it facing the sunrise. Which was, it was a wild choice. And it's funny, at this point, I was reflecting on what I had read, which was, crazy ending of the movie will, turn some people out. And I thought, well, is this it?
No.
But it was not it. But we'll get there. We'll get there in a minute.
So you want to take us from that point where we have that touching moment, and then we have kind of like the Spike story unfolds.
Right.
Yeah, so he sets that up there, and then he's like, I'm going to he's going to continue on his journey, basically, so to speak. But all of a sudden, the Alpha comes back. They got a nice little trap area. They get in there, almost kills Dr. Fiennes. Spike grabs one of his darts, sedates him, all that good stuff. And then he's going to make his way back to the village. So he makes his way back, and I'm trying to blank. Nothing really happened on the way back.
No. He just kind of goes back, and he leaves the baby in a basket with a note because obviously basically Aaron Taylor Johnson and the family friend they're worried sick. They don't know where he's at, but they get the baby and they get the note. And the note says, I'm going back. I'm going to be on my own way. And the dad flips out and tries to run into the ocean to cross the land bridge, but he can't get across.
It's too high. Yeah.
So he can't go back for him.
I was worried that he was going to travel with the baby. I'm like, what are you going to do with the baby? But I'm glad the baby in the basket went there.
Yeah, I was glad. And I'm sure, because in the note, he's like, I'm going to name the baby Isla. I'm pretty sure in the second, it's more of the village is going to be happening. And I think Isla is going to play a bigger role as she grows up, maybe. But
right, yeah, because they may jump us forward quite a bit. So, but
they might, yeah.
As you said, now we're back following Spike as he voyages. He says, "I want to walk till I can't see the ocean anymore," which is going to suck because he'll just get to the other side of England. Then what is he going to do? You're on an island, bud. It's going to be.
Wait, Scotland?
Wait, there's more ocean.
Ocean. Ireland?
He's going to be like Forrest Gump. But he. So the last part of the movie is he is now finds himself in a spot because the naked runner people are closing down on him, and he's able to pick some off with an arrow. I don't know why he still doesn't have all of Eric's stuff, because he had Eric's vest, but he didn't have his sidearm or his automatic weapon.
He got left behind, I thought, right?
I figured he would have gone back for him, but maybe by this time, because we have jumped
he's
forward.
Never seen a fight. Yeah, he's never seen a firearm before Eric showed it, so maybe was scared.
Yeah, he didn't even know what a frisbee was when they first found it.
Exactly.
That's true. If you can throw a frisbee, you can shoot a gun.
Frisbee could.
He never learned either because Dad was a bastard. Oh,
it might end up being a viable weapon, but we are 28 days. Oh gosh, 28 days forward, and yes. So
I was going to fall asleep during this podcast. Oh my God, Clint!
I know you've kept me this late.
Welcome.
But yeah, so now our hero is on the run. He's being chased by the naked runners, and Clint, take us through the end of it. What happens?
So he's running from the runners, and we come to like a roadblock. He figures he's done for, but then all of a sudden a guy shows up in a Adidas tracksuit, blonde hair with a tiara on,
rotten teeth,
and
super gross.
And
gold teeth. I couldn't tell.
I
just black.
Can't remember the teeth. Yeah, and then a few others show up, and they're like, "Can we take care of these for you?" Sure, he eventually lets them. They come down, they start doing Mighty Morphin Power Ranger stuff on these rage people. They're all in tracksuits, blonde hair once again. A few of them have like red glasses. They kill these rage people, and he comes over. He introduces himself as Jimmy, and it does a quick close-up, and you can see that the cross is that he's wearing. So this is the kid from the beginning, or at least I'm thinking is the kid from the beginning.
Yes,
and now this is set up. So my take on this is that, of course, they've all been shut off, and the last thing he was watching was like Teletubbies. So you figure,
that's all colors. I didn't make the connection.
God.
Didn't make the connection.
So the Power Rangers. So that's like how they learned to fight was Power Rangers and stuff, because that's what they remember. But the other thing is the way they're dressed, their tracksuit, their blonde hair. Back when the original 28 Days, it started in 2001. So it's set in that year. So you figure their electronics and everything, radio was cut off at that point. There was a media icon type of thing, or like what do they call them? Inspiration people that was basically on the radio, and his name was Jimmy Seville, and that's what he looked like.
Jimmy Seville. I think he was a host. Yeah,
a blonde hair. So I think as they grew up, like, that's what they look. Ali G would be even better.
Exactly right.
So I think they're kind of taking like not a Mad Max approach, but like that's the last thing that they looked up to was this person. So I'm going to persona myself around this guy.
That's so funny.
And Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is what we watched with Teletubbies. So that's how we're going to fight and stuff. So that's what I got from it. I could be completely wrong.
This is like Lord of the Flies. If they they were all inspired by their stuff from the kids, and no adults told them any different. Like, this is the way you go. Yes, go Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah,
that's totally nuts. So that is the end of the film.
So bizarre. And this brings it all back. So they're all Jimmys. Then that's who what's her name? Tubman is. Yeah. Is one of the Jimmys.
She didn't even have any lines. It was so bizarre.
How did she get an actual role in there? Because I'm like, the fighting was ridiculously cool, weird, gross.
It was over the top, but I enjoyed it.
Yes. Talk about a weird tone of after all of that and a touching moment, and then we end like that. I'm like,
Right.
Danny Boyle, man, you're it's like Train Spotting came back at the end and said, take some drugs.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you enjoy some heroin? So, yeah, that was nuts. There was no doubt that was kind of crazy. And again, tonally, I think we've talked about this as we've gone along. The first movie, very low budget, kind of doing the best they could and told a great story. Second movie, kind of bloated, plot didn't make any sense, spent a lot more money on it, but made less money from it, and it wasn't as good. That's my take. This movie spent more money. I know that we're looking domestic this weekend, maybe about 30 million, I think, Todd. I know
65 global, 65, so
yeah,
doing
30,
well.
Yeah, 30 and 30.
Yeah.
So
horror films will either find more of an audience or they'll trickle down, but
yeah,
not bad.
They're definitely, they're probably with a standard multiplier, they'll probably hit 90, 100 million, over north of 100 million. They'll make their money.
This is Danny Boyle's top performing film, which is crazy.
So,
really?
do we want to jump into our comment before we give our wrap up?
Well, I was going to say so now there's a story that you put in here, Charlie, about apparently a fourth film called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple.
Yes.
Need DaCosta is involved, and Cillian Murphy will also be involved in this. Yeah. Which I thought, and I thought that was him as a desiccated body. Apparently not. That was Flim Flam.
That was a red herring. Yeah, and he's EP on this film, and he will be on it again. This is the beginning of a trilogy, so there will be a fifth film as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Jimmy will be the central focus in the Bone Temple, which will also serve as Murphy's reintroduction to the franchise. So I don't know if we're hearing about Jimmy being kind of the focus.
Yeah.
It seems like we're going to be on a weird, wild roller coaster. Is everybody excited for that?
Definitely.
I can't imagine how nuts it's going to be. So I'm on board, because I loved Trainspotting. So, all right.
I love that we don't have to wait long either.
Yeah, you're right. 6 months is a drop in the bucket. So let's rock through this comment, and then we'll wrap it up with our own take. So this came from our Discord. One of our own Patreons, famous Seamus, said this was my first Danny Boyle movie and 28 Later movie. So I guess that we call the franchise 28 Later. I was surprised at the editing style and the use of cuts to help increase the tension. Agreed. The zombies, I guess that's what you'll call them, look amazing and gross. I really loved the performances, especially Alfie Williams and Ray Fiennes. Totally agree. Spoilers here. I thought the scene with Spike's mom's dying and the entire part of the movie with the Bone Temple was beautiful. We similarly. From the set to the music to Ray Fiennes' character talking about how to remember the dead. It was really beautiful and almost made me tear up. This coming from someone who has lost a parent. Gotcha. The ending confused me a bit. It's mostly the tone.
Yes. We are all confused.
It was confusing seeing a bunch of people just doing flips and parkour while killing zombies. But I can't wait to see what Jack O'Connell does in the sequel. Jack O'Connell, I assume, being the actor who is Jimmy. So yeah, that's pretty wild. Pretty wild stuff. So, okay.
Yeah, Jack O'Connell was Sir Jimmy Crystal. Yeah. So he's going to be the lead, which is crazy. So I Seamus, you're not alone. Danny Boyle's done some great films, but this was an interesting one to hop into, considering it's the third of an existing series, and we were surprised as everyone else with the track Ninja Rangers.
Track
Ninja Rangers.
That might be the name of the episode. All right, let's wrap it up. Clint, from the top, if you were to take one out of 10 skulls with a little bit of spine, what would you give this movie?
I'm going to give this one an 8 for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fair. Todd?
I'm going to give this one an 8.5. While I thought the ending of the movie was fun, it just took me kind of out of the moment, which maybe that's the whole point, is to make you feel like maybe there's hope, because you got this group of super rangers that are going to save the UK. Should make me feel good. So maybe so 8.5. I'm a little conflicted, but you know what? Maybe we're getting some. The Jimmy Force is happening.
I'll go 7.5 on this. Yeah, I was really weirded out by the parkour Ninja Rangers, and then I don't know why all the rage monsters had to be naked running around. I thought that was a weird detail. That again, it makes no sense if they're mortal. But then again, maybe with all the mutations, not that I have a problem with nudity.
They're getting really hairy, Charlie. So I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe
the rage keeps their blood warm too. They don't die because of the cold.
Maybe they don't get cold. But I thought that was just a weird detail. But whatever. But anyway, very enjoyable. Absolutely, the third.
They were also really dirty, Charlie. You know, you don't like dirty people.
No, I don't know. But well, remember about the medieval. If everybody stinks, nobody stinks. But yeah, I agree with Famous Seamus. Definitely that third act with the boneyard and everything was absolutely terrific. So cool. Well, that's it, gang. So Clint, oh my God. Thanks for being here. The voice of reason when it comes to horror. Where do people find you out there on the socials?
Everybody can find me at just type in Spreading the Nerd over at Blue Sky or Threads. I'll be there.
Rock and roll.
And also YouTube as well.
The YouTube. Todd's favorite.
You dropped the Ryuketsu? It's so catchy.
I'm still on there, but I'm trying to move everything into Spreading the Nerd. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I did the same thing with my handle. It helps. So Todd, lover of YouTube, where do people find you?
Lover of YouTube, apparently. Let's see. Well, you can go to our YouTube channel, Secret Friends Unite at YouTube, and then you can go to Blue Skies and you can follow me at Todd Oxtra. I've reclaimed the full name, and also Secret Friends Unite with dots on the Blue Sky. Check us out there. Also on Threads, T Oxtra at Secret Friends Unite as well, but I'm barely there.
Barely. Well, I try to shop myself around to what I consider the big three: Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. I am at the C3, TheCeeThree, but mostly Secret Friends Unite Discord. That's where we're having those fun, geeky conversations about pop culture. If you're not there, jump on in there, try to find it. If you can't find us, drop us a note. We will invite you because we'd love to have you there. But that's the show, friends. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Go, Tracksuit Rangers.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.